Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of River City 93. I'm your host, as always, Elliot Barr, and is joining me are two people that took a delicious road trip down to Charlotte, met a Carolina Reaper but didn't eat it, got called frauds, had more screen time than the actual supporters group that was in the stadium, saw Chandler Odwyer make a defensive mid-move, got an assist to Jao Romero, whose ball barely went over the line. And we saw an 18-year-old get the first clean sheet in over 40 games for our club. Did I miss anything? Oh, and we walked away with 3 points. Did I miss anything there?
No, I think we're done. Thanks for listening.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Yeah. So that's Matt and Kate. And also, if you can tell, we're in a 4-person screen today. If you're watching on audio, that means Chenier is here. He finally has great working internet from the Great Lakes State. Isn't it the Great Lakes State, Minnesota? I'm pretty sure it is. No. It's up there. I don't know.
Well, it's the Northern Star State, but yeah, we've got Lake Superior. So yeah.
Land of 10,000. Yeah.
Yeah, land of 10,000 lakes. Yeah, that's true. Well, technically there are actually almost 15,000. So.
Fact check.
Looks like somebody's already learned Minnesota nice.
Right. Man, how have you guys been? First and foremost, let's start off with this. How was the road trip for you two road trip warriors going down to Charlotte? Booking in 4.5 hours? Matt took first class. I just want to say Matt got money.
Yeah. Matt is the fraud because we all said road trip and he flew. So
Whoa.
Didn't see much of the
first
road.
class down to Charlotte, folks. I just want to put that out there, okay? He was like, I'm not sitting with the peasants. I want to have leg room.
Yeah, and look what I brought back in my luggage, 3 points. So
there you go.
I'll open up the Venmo for the Tormented trip in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
First class only.
I want you to know, I was 100% joking with Matt that he was flying first class, and then I realized, like, no, Matt 100% would fly first class.
I mean, it's only like $100 more expensive than flying in the back. So that price point, yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
treat yourself.
I
did. It worked.
But how was the whole day down there? Like, did you guys hang out with the other supporters group and stuff like that? Like, how was
Hell no.
So we did get invited by the Mech Reserves, but Richard was the one who made that connection. So the rest of us actually showed up to the stadium. Richard and Paige were walking over from their Airbnb, so they were late. So we saw them tailgating, and because Richard wasn't there, we felt too awkward, so we just went to a different parking space behind a really big truck so they couldn't see us, and we drank there. And then we went into the stadium without interacting.
So you guys found your own sectional tailgate space, as always.
Yes, and the parking lot was very full, and people couldn't see that we were standing in it. So at least 4 different cars drove by about to try to park in the parking spot, and then saw us and threw up their hands and kept driving and had to look for a different spot. So we did ruin a few people's days before a ball was even kicked.
Kate exaggerates a little bit. Very full is very generous to the parking situation.
Okay, it was like a 30-spot parking lot. So that was the only lot they could do.
Yeah, that does. I mean, I've been in that stadium once, and that whole parking arrangement is weird because I think the stadium was like right across from like a park as well. Like it's in a nice part of Charlotte. It's just a weird place as well.
Mm-hmm. And the home team, they were hosting. There was like the supporters group had a tailgate in one of the small slots, and then the other surface lot had like a team sponsored tailgate where they were like playing music, and it was a bunch of young children, and they were like playing and stuff. So 2 very different vibes in the
better question here is, why was Mr. I Love Charlotte, it's the best city in the world, not in Charlotte?
because I am about to go out of the country, so I had to clean my house before clothes. Hey, sir, look, I am the one in charge of packing, and like, I don't know about y'all, but I had Mount St. clothes in my house, so I had to get my wife was over here complaining about that, but I had to take care of that.
So you didn't go because of laundry?
Yeah, dude, laundry sucks. I actually love doing laundry, but like it is like a 2-day chore. First, you gotta wash it.
I can definitely.
Have you heard of a thing called
I can definitely back you up on that one.
Well, yes, I have. That doesn't sound.
You're making it sound like you're going like old school, like 1800 style, like hand ring everything.
I'm not reliving my ancestors' past and just washing clothes for master or whatnot.
Oh, we're not talking about the Reaper right now.
It's like the more you say it now, the more I look at him and just be like, damn, man.
Yeah, he's double dipping.
Yeah. The more I look at it. He doesn't look good. Talk about double dipping. We need to talk about this lineup that Richmond threw out there because I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I was a little bit concerned because I was just reading over it and I was like, okay, no Emmy, no Neil. And I just glazed over the fact James was starting to go. Sneddy was starting to go. I just assumed it was Pablo. And I had to go back and reread and I was like, oh no, Sneddy's in goal.
Yeah. So I don't remember what my exact reaction was, but we were in the car on the way over and I look at him like, I think it was something like, oh, this is weird.
Can confirm. Weird lineup.
Yeah, no. I think that was everyone's first reaction. So this is Darren's full lineup. Odwyer, striker, Sarakowski out on the wing, Zhao, Zaka, and Dak in the midfield, Bill Hart out on the wing, Maxi, Gee, Griffin, Fitch, and then Sneddy in goal. So that was the whole lineup. And I was just like, I don't know what Darren's thinking, but whatever it is, he has some confidence in Sneddy.
Yeah, I mean,
it paid off.
It's definitely a courageous call. It's 10 of the same 11 guys from the Spokane game, right? Zaka came back in for Vaughn. That's the only change from that starting lineup. So it's something we've talked about a lot this year, I think, of, hey, if something goes well, give those guys a run out, let them continue to play together. And credit to Darren because it takes some massive brass balls to roll a lineup out at the end of the year when you're fighting for a playoff spot without, your probably two biggest names on the team in there, 18-year-old goalkeeper, like no Ani anywhere, no guys like, Landon, some of these other guys anywhere in the team at all.
Yeah.
But hey, gamble big, win big.
Yeah, no, for real. Like it paid off big time. Want to ask you guys this question. Like, how do you think the kicker started off the first 15, 20 minutes or so? Because what it felt like to me, because I was at the watch party watching it, I couldn't tell if Richmond was playing well or if Charlotte was just kind of coasting through the motions for the most part in like that first opening part of the game. What were your guys' thoughts about that?
For me, it seemed kind of even. They created some chances. We created some chances. But those I feel like the first 15 minutes was, I think it seemed a little nervy from both sides. And because of that, I think, to be honest with you, Charlotte seemed a little nervier than we did. And because of that made our nervy not look as bad. So.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't.
Oh, my fault, Kate. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say they definitely started out with more chances, but even their better chances weren't. I mean, the only times we were really scared was when they hit the post. Those were the only ones. Otherwise, had most things covered, or the shots weren't particularly threatening. They were moving the ball a little bit better, but the end product wasn't particularly threatening, in my opinion. And we were right there. Also, I wasn't too scared for the first 20 or 30 minutes outside of whenever they hit the post for the first time.
Yeah, by the way, we got to pay that post whatever it wants. Like, I wonder if we could take that post home with us. Y'all saw it. Like, Matt, let me ask you this. Like, did your heart drop in your chest when that ball hit off the post?
Well, the first one and the second one. The first one, not as much. The second one seemed like it was just like an insta goal. So the second one, I was surprised, that it rang off the post in our favor. Honestly, my heart dropped a little bit more earlier in the half, and I think it was maybe their first real shot. Like, James goes to catch it, but kind of, not goes through him, but gets caught up in his legs a little bit as he's making the save. And I was just scared of disaster. Of it's just like like Rob Greening, 2010.
Oh
right
yeah, that one. That one I was just like, that would be our luck. That's the goal that gets scored on us.
Yeah, because I was there for that one too, and it's a lot more fun when it happens for you and not against you.
Yeah. I mean, he did have some good saves in as well. Like, he had a good save in the 21st minute going across his body. Overall, like, I know he's only 18, and it's kind of hard to say. But do you think, like, if you're looking ahead, does Chenier make a good case for goalkeeper number 2 next year? Just based off of these 2 games. So what you've seen of him so far?
I think he's grown quickly. I think that's what I've been pretty impressed with, is especially with the academy matches, which they only started over the summer. So I think he's had a lot more opportunity to play over the summer, and the academy games are also at a pretty high level that I think he's grown into the player he is right now quickly, which is pretty impressive. He hasn't necessarily been in a lot. I think these last 3 weeks, because he started for the academy last weekend and also got a clean sheet. This is probably the first real string of matches. Did he play in the exhibition maybe? So I think his growth over the last few weeks is really impressive, and hopefully he's not just reaching an impressive point now and it'll sort of plateau. Hopefully this is just the sort of beginning of the growth curve.
Yeah, I hope so. This is the early beginnings of how good he can be. And matter of fact, as well, I forgot to mention, he had another good save in the 30th minute where Ja was trying to make I don't know how you can describe it. He was trying to make an in-swinger cross. He was trying to play the ball back in bounds, but then a shot player effectively hit it off his head, and then Charlotte played through it, which is one of the rare times that Charlotte really tried to play through it. Because it felt like most of this game, Charlotte played right into our hand with the slow, drawn out possession, going back to back, trying to build up. But it seemed like Richmond was. It seemed like on the day, Richmond got their tactics right. All right, cool, we can settle this and we can take our time.
Yeah, it felt like a little more kind of almost early Darren teams where we talk about it frequently. All right, you want to kind of pass the ball kind of around the box up to 30 yards out. Have at you can do that all day for all we care. If you want to take a look from out there, good luck on you. You hit it, cool. But we're not going to really let you inside the box at all. And it felt more of that style where we'd give it to them, but we're not going to give you a top end chance.
Yeah. Which, I mean, played great into our hands because it seemed like Charlotte had no real threat at all. Outside of, I'm not gonna say no real threat because he did hit the post twice, and a mere 2-3 inches inside, we could talk about a 2-0 deficit.
A couple inches the other way, they don't hit the post at all, and
there you go. That is very true. Anyone else that I told you in the first half? I also think Griffin Garnett had a good first half. Bill Hart as well. Even though it's weird to say because he didn't really have his probably most influential game in the win for us so far this season. You could definitely tell he was a point of emphasis for Charlotte, where at certain points, anytime he got close towards their box, they were trying to have a man or at least 2 men nail Bill Hart so he couldn't just have a free shot on goal.
Yeah, I think if we don't have any. Go ahead, Chenier.
Yeah. I think Bill Hart is definitely one of those players that now now is being put under the microscope by anyone we're going to play against. They seem to be preparing for him. So it's gonna be kind of touch and go to see from now on, like how influential he's going to be able to be. But I mean, good players always tend to find some space, and eventually he will be able to sneak out of those double, triple covers and create something for us, I think. But at this point right now, he's starting to create a name for himself, and it's like, all right, now Bale Hart. Every time they receive the ball, they look over at him. It's like he's got two guys
on him. Yeah, that makes it tough for him. What was you about to say, Matt?
I was going to say, I think he's probably the person who suffers the most from not having Emmy or Neal out there, because I think that, like Chenier was saying, the defense could just gear on him. They didn't, like, no disrespect, to Chandler, we've talked about many times over, what he's been able to bring in terms of production, but not a guy in the buildup that I think defenses are going to be scared of. Like Joel's a good player. He's not Neal necessarily, in there. So he didn't have those supporting players there who can be able to make the defensive have to make a choice. It's like, all right, well, Bill Hart's over here. Well, you can play it to him. When he's all out on the island in his own half, have at it. But once he gets anywhere near the box, he's getting 2-3 guys on him, and you saw he was looking for a shot, but he just could not get half a yard once he got near the goal to be able to actually rip one.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. I mean, Richmond has some other shots as well, but they, weren't as dangerous. Like, I remember Chandler had a breakaway chance in the first half. I think Bill Hart had one cutting in off the wing. Are there any other chances in the first half that was beginning?
I mean, Joe had a couple that made the actual highlight reel.
Yeah.
There were a few half chances. I would say that first half, even though there weren't a lot of clear-cut chances by the kickers, we did look a little more on the front foot, and we were creating some of those half chances, creating that space and asking the questions of the Charlotte Independence defense a lot more than was being asked of us. One thing I did notice was I'm a little interested. I'm very interested in Dak's positioning. Dak basically being put in as a 6, playing that defensive midfield player in front of Garnett and Franca, and it's like Darren is flirting with a back 3, but if it looks like we're pushing forward, then Dak completely plays that midfield position. But
so what you're saying is that Darren has commitment issues.
No, I wouldn't say that he had commitment issues, but I would say that it's basically like a safeguard. So you have Dak in there who can play that defensive midfield position. If we're in the attack, he can be that third central midfielder to connect. But if Charlotte had been more of an attacking team, it doesn't take much to switch into just dropping him back between Garnett and Franca. It really doesn't change the makeup of the lineup much to drop him back into that space. It's just a couple yards that he has to drop back to cover that space, and now we have a back 3. So,
I mean, he only played 45 minutes in the first half, but he really was like the safety blanket back there for like James and Griffin.
And I think
he definitely was. He played it very well.
Yeah.
It also interesting. It means Zaka has been playing further up the field than he normally has. Like, he's still breaking things up, but he can take shots. Like, we don't necessarily think of Zaka as a shot taker, but he's been floating around there on the outside of the 18-yard box. And I've been asking, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. But I don't know. It's interesting, and it's interesting because Zaka is traditionally the one who drops deeper, playing them both, and Dak being the one to stay back, Zaka being the one to push forward is interesting in that regard too, because it's also sort of, you're playing both, you're still playing 2 DCMs, but there's this like attacking dimension of Zaka that's being asked of him that we haven't necessarily seen. And I don't know, it's one of those like trade-offs where like, is it because Dak doesn't have that in his locker, so he's got to be the one to stay back, or Dak's defensive but like contributions are higher than his attacking? It's just interesting because I wouldn't necessarily say that tactically that's an edge that we've been looking for, but it's sort of like an unintended consequence of this setup, and it's sort of interesting to see if anything will come of it. I don't really think anything has come of it so far, but I don't know. Maybe Zaka will surprise us before the end of the season with some sort of long-range banger.
Booking it this Saturday against Lexington, 40 yards out. No, I mean, we kind of talked about it before, like with this midfield and who can play there. Like it's kind of like give and take based on what you want. So like Dak and Zaka are offering you one thing, but they lack in something else. Whereas Suko and Zhao give you one thing, but they lack in one thing. Like it's kind of like give and take a lot. And Darren has had his criticisms, definitely on the show about some of the midfield choices. This one definitely seemed to pay off. But it seemed like where Dak was more comfortable sitting in front of the center backs and when it being like that quote unquote safety blanket, Zaka was able to do what he does best, and that's just clean up. He didn't have to worry about too much about grading or dropping back to try to relieve pressure and things like that. Like if someone got past Zhao, who was the quote unquote 10 in this, like he was there to clean up and whatnot and stop a lot of quick counter attacks from happening. So maybe we're seeing the Zaka revolution happening before our eyes. And it could come at a better time.
Yeah, I think there were plenty of opportunities in the game where Zaka was able to be more of a controlling midfielder. So basically, the control aspect of that midfield three, and there were plenty of moments where he kind of reminded us of what he's capable of. Reminded us of his clean touches. His first touch was pretty clean in this game. Like I remember several times when I was watching, especially in the first half, where a ball is pinged to him at pace and he just drops it in front of him, like with a clean first touch and then getting himself going. So he has the ability to play that game from what it seems like, and that would be that position he would take up. Now, with Dak playing kind of a six, like we said, it frees him up to play more of a control rather than a protect role in that midfield three, which I guess, like you're saying, we're going to see some new sides of Zaka if this continues.
Yeah. And I mean, Kate, I know you're gonna love this stat. When it comes to shots, Charlotte's two most dangerous chances literally came off the woodwork. After that, they did not create another shot that was dangerous the rest of the game. Truly.
We were looking at that they had 0 big chances in both halves, yet 2 woodwork. I'm wondering about that calculation there from Fatma. What sort of mathematical number they're cooking with?
I don't know. Well, I don't know who's watching the game, but there's huh?
I was saying the first one that hit the woodwork was from a very acute angle, I would say, compared to their other chances they created. The first one, I could maybe understand an argument that it's not a big chance, but the second one, definitely a header from right on the doorstep, almost went upper 90. That's a big chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and then this is the other crazy stat that came across. Charlotte had 7 corners, Richmond had none. So, the thing that we rely on the most to score goals, we had no opportunities to do so. Yeah.
Didn't need them. Changing our identity.
I hope so. The quote, Matt, the defensive midfield striker strikes again. And Chandler Odwyer, man, you know what? I did not rate his game. I did not think this man was going to be our leading goal scorer, but also
one thing that we said, he had the ball at his feet too much, which is not necessarily something you want to say about your striker, but it's true of this striker. You don't actually want him with the ball at his feet very often. That man in the 6-yard box and put it on a plate.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we're gonna talk about the goal chance itself, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, there was a lot of chances. Don't get me wrong. Like, Chandler's that kind of player where he has to purely react. Like, you can't give him a lot of chance to think about it. If Chandler can just react, he's golden. The moment Chandler got to, like, you know, oh, I got to do this, to do this, to do this. It's like, all right, it's too many instructions. It's too many instructions. But yeah. Any other stuff for the first half y'all saw?
Go ahead, Chenier.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think with Odwyer, it's yes, he does well when he plays as a midfielder / defensive midfielder, but when you put him up at striker, he's more of like a pure target. So you want to put him at the end of crosses and just one-time finishes, and it kind of reminds me a bit of in terms of that aspect of it of Delhi. I mean, Delhi wasn't put the ball at his feet, let him dribble two defenders.
No,
he was Delhi was putting it in the air, I'm putting it in the back of the net for you every single time. Of course, I wouldn't put Dwyer on the same level, but in terms of that target striker like aspect, he's more of a get the ball to him for him to finish, not for him to do something and then finish. Because he's not really that type of player who's going to do something and then finish. And I think to a certain extent, that's how Delhi was. Delhi was, you know, that's kind of where that joke of, you know, the short corners problem that a lot of sectional fans have came from. It's from the fact that we're so used to us crossing those corners in, and Delhi's going to get on the end of it. So
no, it's because a lot of our fans are morons. That's why.
Well, there you go, folks. Nah, I mean, I hear your point because I think it's been a long time since we've had a quote unquote target striker.
We've signed them.
He's the last.
We've signed them.
He's the last pure target striker we've had. He's the last one.
That depends how you want to define. But no, Delhi can play the ball. Like, just because they're both, you know, tall white guys with funny, you know, British accents, that's where the comparison stops for me. Like, one of them actually is a striker, the other is a defensive midfielder playing at the striker position.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And I'm not saying that Odwyer is anywhere near Delhi. Delhi is, I mean, he's our all-time leading goal scorer. He's going to be in Richmond Kickers lore for the rest of the existence of the Richmond Kickers, in my opinion. But just in terms of the fact, it's not like Terzaghi. It's not like Terzaghi who can create something and then score. It's not like when we had Joey G, who could create something and score. He's the type of guy who just put it somewhere for me to kick it in or put it somewhere for me to head it in.
Hey, you're saying all that, and without Odwyer creating something, we don't score in this game. It's also because the Charlotte player.
This is more so a defensive midfielder move. It's more so disrupting the movement of the ball, which is what a 6 is supposed to do. So he just did that further up the field, and it created a goal scoring situation for us.
Is also on the Charlotte Independence player. Just, I don't know what was he thinking, dribbling back into the box.
What's that, JJ?
Yeah, like back. Okay, let me ask y'all this because y'all was there in person in the corner. What was y'all thinking when this whole play was coming through, where the Charlotte player is literally dribbling back into the box towards Odwyer and Zhao?
I mean, you've seen press like I think it really is a case of finally the bad play did go our way because we saw they were pressing a lot and Charlotte players were honestly playing with fire a little bit for a lot of the match, but most of the time someone will whack it. Like it gets too close and somebody will just hit it. And it wasn't like, I wouldn't say that this was like intensely replicable. So I think we kind of knew as soon as it started happening that it was that they a little too close to the sun this time, because they'd been doing it over, like they'd just been keeping it in the back, far back for a while, and then it just I guess they got a little too cocky with it this one time.
Yeah, I didn't think anything of it. Like as it was building up, I was like, okay, we're more playing the ball around the back, more pretend pressure. Then it's like, oh, okay, they screwed it up, and the amount of time
Joao kind of scared us. I think Joao didn't look. I mean, he was bobbling it a little bit, so I was worried that it was something.
It felt like 10 seconds he had the ball in the stadium. You watch back on the highlight, it's like 2 touches, and he plays it in. I was like, dude, shoot the ball already.
Yeah,
what are you waiting for?
No, I definitely did feel that way.
Yeah, I think to the first mistake, I wouldn't say, to be honest with you, I don't think it stems from a mistake. It actually stems from a very good high press run from Chandler, because his run cuts the outside off from JJ. So as the ball is coming to JJ from the goalkeeper, he takes a step outside of the box, but Chandler is now kind of curling his run from the outside in, so he forces JJ to take a touch inside. And normally before he'd take that touch inside, then Chandler would drop off, get back in his position, then he'd be able to go back outside and maybe play the ball out wide to the fullback. However, this time, Chandler continues to chase him down. Like, Chandler continues to follow him, so he has to take another touch inside. Now he realizes, okay, I'm way too close to my goalkeeper, and Gamero is right there. I can't pass it back to him. I need to figure out a way to shake Chandler. By the time he figures that out, Chandler's right on top of him and pokes it away from him. So this all is a very, very good high press, very defensive know-how move from Chandler to force the mistake. And then, of course, Gamero, yes, at first you're thinking to yourself, will you shoot the ball? But his first fake shot puts the goalkeeper on his butt. Like, he puts him down and then kind of just goes around him and pokes it in. I would have preferred if he hit it a little harder.
Yeah, my comment on that was more that live in stadium, it just felt like time was not moving at all, when that was happening. When in reality, it was 2 touches and he scores.
Yeah, and we did not have the angle, so it didn't look. It looked like the keeper beat from as soon as he got the ball. You could tell, like on the camera angle, that the keeper, he was kind of square on with the keeper, so he didn't actually necessarily just a tap in. So I credit his composure now, having seen the replay, to actually fake the keeper out enough to make the shot. The final shot could be that bouncy. And
I want you guys to know it was no different than watching it live, because I was just like, for the love of God, just let this ball get over the line. Like, it was like worst case scenarios going in my head. Like, oh, he didn't shoot it hard enough. Pack's gonna get up and save it. Oh no, he's gonna miss it live. He's gonna miss it wide. He did. I didn't realize he scored that time. I saw Joao run over to the corner with y'all.
Well, and Joao then faked the traveling fans out, because for a second he almost turned and went the other way. And you can tell Chandler also in the celebration was like waiting for him to do something before they actually turned and ran over to where we were. We don't know if there's been some sort of communication from the league about how they shouldn't celebrate, because they also didn't celebrate in front of Section O when Chandler scored twice last home. They come over and celebrate. So I don't know if the league has said something about celebrating in front of fan sections, because Joao almost didn't. He actually, it took a second for him to commit.
Yeah, I doubt it. No one is the league. I mean, look, they still got a team.
He said
paying for another team. Yeah, man. And then Kate, like your famous thing of like the 5 minutes of hell, like after we normally score, like the 5 minutes of how this team is going to defend afterwards. They passed it with flying colors.
Yeah. Next time.
Like
we never progressed past U10.
No, like and that was like honestly one of the more prouder things I was about this game. Just like on a whole, like Gee. Now talk about defensively. Gee did have a couple of moments where I was just like, all right, it's like, what is he doing out there? Like, come on. And then we saw him. So back up a little bit. We saw Dak come on. I think James Vaughn came on. We also saw our new center back, Celia, came on. How do you guys think he performed on the field in the limited minutes that he had?
He got whacked in the face and had a cut on his forehead after. So
Hey, he was ready to start a fight, and that's when I knew. Oh, I like him. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. I thank you. Exactly. That's exactly how I felt about it. I was like, he's passionate. He's ready to go.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you a thing he did. Tell you a thing he did in that half, and being on the other end of the field, I consider that good news.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Limited minutes, only 20, 25, 26. But, it was good to see. And it's also like, I think some of the bigger target points away from this game was like Derek could look at it and be like, all right, it's not ideal, but I don't need Nil and Emmy on the field at the same time to win a game. And also in the fact of like, you have a little bit of defensive stability now in the center back position. You know now you have Gee, Griffin, Celia, Dak, Neeby, Ani. You got enough center backs there to where like if his preferred choice is to go Gee and then Griffin and then bring in Celia or Ani, he can do that. Right. And I think it just solidifies a little bit of stuff in the spine of the team. And, hopefully Dak getting subbed at 45 minutes isn't anything too cautionary. But I think, like, if the spine of this team can get solidified, we can see a lot of things go our way. And, I mean, honestly, like Matt as well, like you tweeted it out there, like, a lot of the results are looking to go our way with Lexington losing big over the weekend. They got another midweek game against Fuego before we play them on Saturday. So, like, all this being said, we can still somehow end up in a playoff hunt, which is crazy to think of.
Oh, we're in a playoff hunt.
Yeah. Matt and I were looking at every other team. So we just laid Independence. Every other team outside of the playoffs also plays Independence and Union Omaha. So, including us, but every team outside that, we got 3 points off Independence, and now every other team that we're competing for that final playoff spot with still also has to play Independence in Omaha. So,
Jesus, you talk about the easy run of the schedule for Charlotte and Union Omaha.
No, that's good. Happy for them. I hope they win out. Well, no, not win out. We played still once each.
Yeah.
Look, if I can get 2 points out of those two games, I'll be a happy man.
Yeah, if we can get 2 draws, that I'd be happy. Or maybe we could sneak a win with Union and a draw with Charlotte. Because apart from, to be honest with you, the only creation of that goal comes from Chandler and JJ. And actually, to go beyond him losing the ball to Chandler, he makes the cardinal mistake of not tracking back and overlapping the goalkeeper. Because if you notice, most breakaway goals, if a defender gets beat and it's the goalkeeper next, that defender isn't chasing down the player. He is running to cover the goal because he knows his goalkeeper has to come out. He did not go and cover the goal. If he had ran to cover the goal behind the goalkeeper, with how softly Gomero hit that ball, he probably could have blocked it. So, and you could see he was very upset. The camera actually stayed on him after the goal was scored and showed how pissed off with himself he was for not following through with the play and not finishing. So that leads us to a situation where we are very evenly matched with Charlotte Independence. It's in this game, at least, it's a very even game. This could have ended 0-0 easily. So,
but it didn't. So
we could get if we could get a draw out of them in that next game, look, I'll take it. Because I know that Charlotte Independence has what it takes to beat the rest of the teams that we're competing with for that playoff spot.
And it's good back. I've talked about it a lot of times this year. Like, fortune comes to those who earn it. It's not, not buying into luck or anything. Like, stuff has not gone our way frequently,
you
this
create
year,
more,
and but it will balance itself out, as it probably should in the long run. It doesn't mean it's 50-50 in the long run. Like, we're still probably going to end up on the deficit side of that for the year, but getting these breaks here and there with they hit a post a couple times, they just had a massive brain fart instead of just kicking the ball 50 yards up the field. They try to play pretty, and it burns them. Cool, we'll take it, and you just got to keep stacking points right now. But you can talk about those Charlotte Omaha game later in the year. It's Lexington this week, and then Tormenta, and then Chattanooga. Those are the three that matter right now. Like, win those.
absolutely.
I'm not gonna say we're good, but if you win those three, you're probably good.
I want to ask you guys this because I was thinking about it over the course of the weekend. Like, if you look at Lexington, they play Fuego. And I was just thinking about it. Like, say if Fuego beats Lexington on, Wednesday? I feel more positive going into Saturday versus if, like, Lexington beats Fuego on the Wednesday. And I don't know. Maybe I'm weird for that, but I just feel like
you want
more if Fuego coming there with a loss.
Yeah, you want them on the back foot. Them coming off a win at home in their new stadium, their first win at home in their new stadium.
No, they lost.
I have to hope we need their mindset even further in the mud after that embarrassing, humiliating loss to Knoxville and their third full new, shiny new stadium ready for their promotion. So it would be great if Fuego and Jermaine Jones could cook up a delicious meal for them.
I just want them to get battered. Like, I'm baking in 3 points for them against Fuego. Like, that's just the base assumption I'm working with. I would love to be proved wrong, because every point Lexington drops is good news for us. But if they just have a nice physical battle and get worn down, a lot like, I don't know, Charlotte got worn down midweek this week and came out probably not with everything they had. I don't care. I'm not too proud. I'll take the benefit off of that, and that helps us be able to get over the line on Saturday. So be it. Like, I'll trade off Lexington winning on Wednesday if it means that we win on Saturday. Fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with
it. Absolutely.
I think, like, now the biggest thing is, like, what does Darren do? Because before, I'm not going to say he has a dilemma goalkeeper, but he does have a couple of things to think about. Like, if you think about Darren's preferred lineup, left back, fullback, or top four. Center back, does he go with the new signing in Celia, or does he stay with Gee and Griffin there? Like, how does he navigate that?
Yeah, it's interesting because we were saying before, like, last week, there was only one difference between last week and this week. At Spokane 2 weeks ago was a rubber match, no pressure. Game meant nothing. It was great to get the win, but ultimately that was the definition of playing without any pressure. This lineup out here, we got the result. Yeah. The pressure is now on because we've just won this game, but there wasn't necessarily, you're going to the team. If they draw, they're at the top of the table. There wasn't necessarily a ton of expectation going into this game, unlike now, the run in, mostly teams around us in the table. At this point, every match is a must-win. Maybe one could be dropped. So you go from these lineups that were kind of being put out there without much expectation in them to the pressure is back on. This win put the pressure back on. That's good. Pressure is a privilege. We want to be fighting for those playoffs, but it put the pressure back on in a way that we haven't seen this team perform very well. I mean, or maybe they tap into the Forward Madison map. They tap into their Henny Darby pressure on. I guess it could go either way, but I'm intrigued to see now these sort of no expectation lineups possibly being tested in very high expectation, high pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the analogy here is if you're Darren, you're at the craps table. Are you blowing on the dice and throwing them again?
Oh,
Or
1,000%.
are you walking?
1,000%. Yes.
You're rolling the same guys out. You're stapling Neil and Emmy and Pablo to the bench for another week. That's the analogy right here. Like you go with basically the defense all stars plus Bill Hart.
Especially since our opponents are fighting for, like, right now, all these teams at the top of the table, they know they're in. Tormenta's the only one that's still fighting for a place. There's really no one who's overtaking these top 7 teams. So they almost also have anything to play for.
Honestly, I would say yes.
Only these teams at the bottom that do.
Yeah. I would say yes to going with the same lineup. You may make a tweak here and there. If you drop Odwyer and you bring in Emmy, and you run Emmy for 60 and bring Odwyer in the target man.
You're essentially going to drop Chandler Odwyer at this point. The one guy who consistently is involved in the goals.
Yes, but this is my thinking. All the pressure is on Lexington. Truly, like the true pressure is not on Richmond in this game. Just because of the standpoint of Lexington, I hate to say it, still trying to prove that they could get a playoffs bid, which they won't.
What do you think we're doing?
I mean, yeah, I know we are, but I'm saying, like, in terms of, like, prior to this result,
promotion. They have to earn their promotion.
Like prior to Richmond beating Charlotte, if Richmond would have drawn or lost to Charlotte, we would have been like, all right, like the playoff chances might be starting to fizzle out. Most of the pressure is on Lexington, especially if they play bad against Fuego. And I just want to keep applying that pressure on the Lexington because, like, that damn will break. And we've seen it. Like, not saying we get the attacking quality of Noko, but, like, that damn broke Darren Noko. We're on the same level attacking-wise as One Knox. You can kind of take the One Knox approach and, get a 1-0 win out of that. So I think, like, it's there. Like, if you go defense first and then be like, hey, look, now we're going to go after it in the last 70, not last 70, last 20, 25 minutes, I think you can get something out of it.
I can agree with that. I don't know if I buy into all the pressures on them and not on us because part of this is the whole proof of concept of can they actually put together consecutive weeks. And, I think coming back home off of, good result where, let's be real, City Stadium has not been necessarily a place where they've been playing well for 2 years. So
no, I mean, that's true as well. I'm just thinking in terms of like
both teams are going to have a lot to play for.
Yeah. I think more so Lexington, but I think Richmond can kind of be.
They're playing to not get laughed at.
Yeah, like, I think Richmond is kind of like house money. Because what's the rest of Lexington's schedule looking like? Let me see.
They got Chattanooga last game. Otherwise, it's most of the other top teams like everybody else has.
Right.
They have an Omaha in there. They have a Charlotte in there, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's imperative. Like, if Lexington wants to make a push for the playoffs, like, it's imperative they walk out of these next 2 games with wins. Because if not, like,
but if we want to make the playoffs,
Omaha,
you can't lose that game if you're the Kickers and you want to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Can they walk out with a draw?
The game with Lexington, you absolutely need to win that one.
Yeah. I'm just asking, can they walk out with a draw and still have the playoffs for Richmond?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a draw hurts Richmond as much as it hurts Lexington.
It doesn't hurt. Obviously, it depends a little bit on what else happens around.
Yeah.
Like, we still have a Chattanooga game, that we can, go into. Like, we'll have a Tormenta game. I can't remember if they have. I think all the rest of theirs are against playoff teams. So, but again, they might very well be coming into that game ahead of us in the standings because they have Fuego midweek. So, a draw doesn't kill us, but then I think that basically means Tormenta and Chattanooga have to be wins.
Yeah, like Tormenta's schedule goes, they got Charlotte and Elko, then us, Union Omaha, and then they end with Greenville. So they end up with Derby, which is tough for them. Yeah, I mean, this is what we wanted. I mean, 4 out of the last 5 games are at home? I mean, more or less, I'm a fault. I kicked Chenier out by accident. More or less. Richmond controls their own destiny, which I think, like, with that, like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I didn't think Richmond had a chance to control their own destiny back in June and July when we were going through the funk.
Yeah.
Yeah, to see it all work. But I mean, it really comes down to what you got 4 teams playing for 8th place.
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, Fuego could catch fire, no pun intended. But I'll believe that if I see it.
Yeah, that'll be the fun thing. Yeah, man. So anything else from y'all before we wrap up the show? It's been a long time since we had 4 in the podcast, so we got to get used to this again.
Yeah.
So then you're on Central Time. You're out there in a whole nother time dimension, there, buddy.
Yes, I am. Yeah. It's a lot early. Well, not a lot. It's an hour earlier than you guys right now, but at the end of the day, with me, I'm looking at the 4 teams that are fighting for that 8th playoff spot. It's one of those situations. You have South Georgia, who are extremely volatile because of just the makeup of their squad. You never know which Tormenta is going to show up. Chattanooga, who have lost their last 7 games.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think 7 games, including the draw and loss on penalties in the Jägermeister Cup. Even though it's crazy enough, the 2 teams that seem the more able to get that last spot are us and Lexington. Even though both Chattanooga and Tormenta are above us on points and above us on the table, it just seems like in terms of the form that the teams are in terms of the stability on the field, Lexington and us seem to be the surer to win that 8th spot. So we also have to take into consideration that Lexington have a game in hand on us. So that
rooting for Fuego.
Yeah. Fuego's got 2 games on us, so I would be fine with a draw there and for them to get the loss somewhere else, because we can leave Fuego at the bottom. I'd rather not add another horse into this race. So yes, I'd be fine with a draw between those 2 and kind of for them to batter each other basically, and then for them to get that loss later on somewhere else.
Yeah. And in the words of Matt, I'm rooting for chaos. So as many red cards and bad fouls as possible from both teams. Truly.
Is there anyone who's close to a yellow card suspension? Like, because red cards are much harder to come by than yellow. So
you think the league's putting out stats like that these days? Come on now.
Heck no.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, Kate, Matt, anything else from y'all? I know you guys are probably still a little tired from your trip back from Charlotte, carrying the 3 points back.
The verdict was we appreciated the food choices that they had because they got like the nice cafeteria style, like $4, $4 fries, Mac got a burger, but the drinks, $12 for a Bold Rock.
What?
$12 for a Stella.
That's bad.
It's scary. It's very scary times. They are encouraging sober watching at these. It is really, really great. But the really wonderful part was No Way did use 2 empty tin Bud Light bottles to create a really lovely drumming situation on the metal railing in front of the section we were standing in. So we do appreciate those little bottles because it sounded really, really nice, and we got some percussion going because of them.
There you go. There you go. Matt, anything from you, my good man?
I mean, road trips always fun. Even more fun when there's more people. So if you're listening to this, whenever the schedule comes out for next year, let's all just plan on, like, Charlotte's the easiest one, right? Let's all just block off the schedule, plan on doing that, and it's even more fun, like in the stadium on the home games when we actually win. Came a long way just to lose. It's even more fun on the road. Turn it into came a long way just to win and just talk all kinds of mess to people.
Hey, because remember, you guys got tagged as frauds. And,
we were accused.
Accused of being frauds.
I need more insight on that. Like, what were they accusing you of being frauds of?
Because we have fans.
Existing, I don't know.
That's it.
Luckily, we beat the allegations. I think that we could say we beat the allegation.
Right.
Then the part that really got me is Zaka went down when he was carted, but he went down with a head injury. It took like 2 or 3 minutes. Like, he was down for kind of a while. They immediately start playing an ad from their healthcare system on the large screen TV. I've never seen that. Like, cutting to a live ad on their TV during a game, like during any spare minute when they think the clock might be stopped or the play might be stopped for more than 30 seconds. But a healthcare ad while a player is down getting a concussion check, that was wild.
It also was wild. Wow. Well, it's not wild, but I appreciate it so much as somebody that didn't have enough skill but was a master in the dark arts. Is when we were time wasting. And Fitch was on the ball. Fitch took forever, got a yellow card, then he ran away. Then James steady came up, readjusted the ball, got everyone straight.
I thought that's what Kate was going to say. She was like, you're just falling over herself over James's yellow card.
I loved it. I was like, Zaka is teaching them the art very well, and I love this.
Well, I spent the entire I spent all of stoppage time like peeking between like the gap in the fence because I could not stand. My legs were too weak. I was too scared. So that was truly top tier time wasting from Mr. Smith.
Oh, I was 1,000% yelling like those last 5 minutes. Just blow the whistle. And then when it hit 97, the ref kept going. I was like, blow the whistle. I just want my goddamn clean sheet.
Yes.
I just want the clean sheet.
Oh my goodness.
That's it.
Oh.
But we got a clean sheet. We got 3 points. Y'all, it's been a while since we had 4 on the podcast, and I appreciate it. So as always, listeners, we just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day for listening to our show. Because without you, we couldn't do this. And we want to do this because we had a happy podcast. If Richmond got 3 points and we're in the playoff hunt, and they control their own destiny. And anyone knows Richmond, when Richmond controls their own destiny, they have a weird way of making things go their way. Go back and look at 2021 when we clinched the playoffs because Toronto couldn't score a goal. So maybe the same thing can happen here. And we just inch on up into that 8th place, and I have to blonde my hair. That's going to be fun. Well, hope that happens. But as always, folks, we will holler at you guys next week. I won't be on. These 3 lovely faces will be on to bring you all the exciting news of a Richmond win against the Kentucky Derby team out there. So with that being said, as always, be easy and be safe, and we'll holler at you guys next week.